Jackson wiped the grease from his hands as the soft knock echoed through his workshop. Living on the edge of human territory meant visitors were rare, especially at this hour when the twin moons cast eerie shadows across the barren landscape of Kepler 442b. He set down his plasma wrench and walked to the reinforced door, checking the security display. A figure stood hunched outside, small, trembling with distinctive fox-like ears drooping low against her head. Her russet fur was matted with rain and her clothes were torn. Jackson had seen her kind before during his service in the Galactic Peacekeeping Corps, a vulpine from the Andorian system. "Please," came a whispered voice through the intercom. I need help." Jackson hesitated. The Vulpine Confederacy had been humanity's enemy for decades, their advanced stealth technology and pack hunting tactics making them formidable opponents in the Outer Rim Wars. But this one seemed different, vulnerable, alone, and clearly in distress. Against his better judgment, Jackson opened the door. The foxwoman looked up with amber eyes wide with fear and exhaustion. She was young, probably barely past maturity by Vulpine standards, with delicate features and silver markings along her muzzle that indicated high-born status. "I am Ruya," she said, her accent thick with the melodic tones of her species. I was told humans sometimes show mercy to enemies." "Sometimes," Jackson replied carefully, stepping aside. "Come in before you freeze to death." Ruya entered cautiously, her tail tucked low, ears swiveling at every sound. Jackson noticed the burn marks on her clothing, the way she favored her left leg, and the haunted look in her eyes that he recognized from his own mirror after particularly brutal campaigns. "What happened to you?" he asked, guiding her to a chair near the heating unit. "My pack. They discovered my research," Ruya whispered, accepting a warm mug of synthetic coffee with shaking hands. "I was trying to develop a cure for the Crimson Plague that's been killing both our species on the border worlds. They said I was a traitor for wanting to help humans." Jackson raised an eyebrow. The Crimson Plague had been devastating colonies for months, and neither human nor Vulpine medical technology had made significant progress against it. "You're a scientist?" "Xenobiologist," she nodded, then looked down at her hands. "Was now I am nothing. They burned my laboratory, killed my assistants, and declared me in exile. I heard that humans value knowledge above politics sometimes." Over the following days, Ruya slowly opened up. She shared her research data, showing Jackson genetic sequences and theoretical treatments that were far beyond his mechanical expertise but clearly brilliant in their complexity. In return, Jackson provided shelter, food, and something Ruya seemed to have never experienced: unconditional acceptance. "Why do you help me?" she asked one evening as they worked side by side in his workshop. Jackson was modifying a medical synthesizer while Ruya input her plague research. "Because it's the right thing to do," Jackson said simply. "Your people and mine have been fighting over resources and territory for years, but that plague doesn't care about borders. It kills everyone." Ruya's ears perked up, a sign Jackson had learned meant she was touched or surprised. "Your species is strange. Vulpines would never help an enemy. Maybe that's why we keep surviving things that should wipe us out," Jackson mused. "We're too stubborn to let hatred override common sense." Weeks passed. Ruya's cure showed promise in computer simulations, but they needed proper laboratory equipment to synthesize it. Jackson knew exactly where to get it, though the plan was risky. "The abandoned Terran research station in orbit," he explained, pulling up star charts. "It was evacuated when your fleet attacked the system, but the equipment should still be functional." "That's suicide," Ruya protested. "Both human and Vulpine patrols will shoot us down." Jackson grinned, that reckless human smile that had terrified enemies and inspired allies throughout the galaxy. "Then we better be very convincing." They modified Jackson's old transport with both human and Vulpine identification codes, bet their lives on diplomatic immunity protocols, and launched into space. When challenged by a human patrol vessel, Jackson played his veteran credentials and claimed he was escorting a Vulpine defector with critical intelligence. When Vulpine raiders intercepted them near the station, Ruya used her noble lineage to demand safe passage for important pack business. Somehow, impossibly, it worked. The orbital laboratory was a treasure trove of equipment. Working feverishly, Ruya synthesized her cure while Jackson defended their position and maintained life support. When Vulpine reinforcements finally arrived, They had already transmitted the cure formula to both human and vulpine medical networks. You could have saved only your own people, Ruya said as they watched both fleets converge on their position. Could have, Jackson agreed. But then what kind of people would we be? The standoff that followed became legendary. Two fleets ready for battle, suddenly receiving simultaneous reports that their dying colonies were being saved by a cure developed jointly by their supposed enemies. The foxwoman who had knocked on a human's door in desperation had become the bridge between two species. Ruya never did leave Jackson's workshop, though it expanded considerably over the years. Their research station became a symbol of what cooperation could achieve, a place where the galaxy's problems were solved not through war, but through the uniquely human belief that tomorrow could always be better than today. And sometimes, late at night when the twin moons were high, Jackson would catch Ruya watching him work with those amber eyes full of wonder, still amazed that a species existed who would risk everything to help a stranger who had knocked on their door.